Hello there, and welcome to the Gold Instruction NECA Retrospect review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Godzilla line that was released from 2014 all the way to its demise in 2020. Just a note, we're going to be looking at only the main Godzillas, not a lot of the variants I'm going to be bringing into this conversation because I didn't really get into buying them that much, so I'm not going to really get into them or say a whole lot about them. We will cut this into a multiple segment series, and we will start with the Showa, the Heisei, and beyond. So without further ado, let's go! Released in 2015, the famed 1954 Godzilla, from the black and white classic Godzilla 1954. NECA couldn't go without touching on the classic original. This figure measures in at 6 inches with 30 points of articulation. This is the general standard, by the way, for the NECA Godzillas, so if you're curious, this is pretty well just going to be how it's going to be. Some of them had a bit more articulation, some of them had no bendy wire in the tails, some of them just had cut joints in the tails. It varies a little bit, but pretty well the same premises for each figure. Originally, he was released by himself in the classic clamshell packaging. I personally thought this packaging was ugly. Also, I thought it was interesting at the same time that they used the Bandai 1954 Godzilla on the packaging. I don't know, I really wish they had used a Trendmasters tribute type packaging. It would have been a great way to play on some nostalgia, kind of like to do with the Alien and Predator Kenner line. But nonetheless, here we are with the Godzilla line. So now, the burning question is, can NECA do Godzilla justice, just like they've done for the Alien and Predator? I can say with confidence the 2019 release is superior. The original was plagued with stiff joints, and I barely wanted to move him around. In fact, he was in a slightly hunched over position. I could have put him in water, but I didn't feel the need to go ahead and put him in hot water. And let's be honest, we shouldn't have to do this straight out of the packaging. It should be solved right beforehand. However, though, this is a common NECA issue. This isn't something new, so if you were a collector at this time and you were just getting into the Godzilla line, you knew what you were getting into for paying a price of about $20. Sculpt-wise, this figure gave us a lot of hope, I remember, for NECA. In fact, it was one of the best Godzillas that had been released at this point in time in the line. Keep in mind that there were only 6 Godzillas in the line prior to this. Even with its flaws, it's much better than the releases. In fact, it captures the likeness better of Godzilla 1954 than the prior figures, which were like the 94 Godzilla. I'm not going to really count the Godzilla 2014. We'll get back to that and touch on it more, but we're talking about the Toho Godzillas that they covered. Lots of issues were remedied with the 2019 release. This variant was given the ultimate treatment with the collector-friendly packaging. Big part of me wishes I'd gotten this packaging, but for whatever reason, Walmart got the old clamshell packaging. I don't know, go figure. That it was kind of odd. I nearly passed on it, but decided why not. I ended up getting my money's worth, a better looking version, new paint apps, buffed and polished, fixed joints, and even could get him in that nice upright position like he was in the movie. Again, the original wasn't terrible. In fact, it was a shining beacon of hope for its time being. It just suffered from the common errors of a NECA figure. Also, I should mention that this version got some atomic breath, though it was simply reused from another figure we'll be covering next. My main issue though is you just gotta kinda rest it in his mouth, and this is due to the fact that when they released this figure in 2015, NECA didn't account for atomic breath being added in the future, so it was something they just kinda threw in there and you just kinda had to make do with it. It's still though a cool little accessory because Godzilla figures were not known for having accessories at one point in the NECA line. Up next, we have the heavy boy, Godzilla 1962, from King Kong vs. Godzilla. The classic delight and the suit design is responsible for inspiring the Godzilla 2000 suit. Now with retooled articulation that prior figures had never saw before. Full with atomic breath that was made specifically for this figure. A much more appealing sculpt job, and boy, at this point it felt like NECA was attempting to take it to SH Monster Arts, but for an affordable price that was very easy for the consumer to buy at a big box store like Walmart or Target. Packaging was very appealing, and man, I wish NECA could have done more of these because boy did they look great on the shelves in your collector cave. I'm impressed by the texture from head to tail. Even on the spines, I feel like no matter how you rotate this figure, you're seeing some interesting, different sculpt designs, and it's just much more appealing to look at than the previous NECA Godzillas. Drawback is I can't say it fully captures the Godzilla 1962's face design, but general Goju fanatics will notice the distinctive traits, such as 3 toes, long tail, and the coloration. Speaking of the tail, this is one of NECA's finest. Multiple segments all cut, and you can keep it posed as you wish, though it comes at the expense of no bendy wire. I don't know, maybe by this point NECA had just realized maybe the bendy wire just works better for the xenomorphs. After all, SH had been more notable for succeeding with the cut segments on their tails. This is one of NECA's heaviest Godzillas. I believe it is slightly taller than 54 Godzilla, even in 54's most upright position. The final Godzilla we received from the Showa era was the ever so popular Mothra vs. Godzilla design. Now this figure, it is hit and miss. I don't consider it as impressive as the 1962 personally. I thought it was a great attempt at the suit. It's got a great sculpt job with all the texture, but its face, it really just feels like it could pass as, say, the Godzilla from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster design. The biggest indicator of which Godzilla this is, though, has got to be the eyebrows. Those evil eyebrows, which were probably the most distinctive feature on this suit. Casual buyers will probably just see it as another Godzilla, but really there's nothing wrong with that. There's about 30 plus Godzilla movies, and I don't expect everybody to know which is which. I really want to admit, I like the work they did on the spines and the paint apps, even though they're not entirely movie accurate. It's got this black charcoaly coloration to the spines, and even though that's not how it was in the movie, they are in fact a bit more whiter. It just works, so I'm not exactly complaining. The tail seemed a little stubby compared to what it should have been, but the way it's engineered like the 62 tail just works better than the bendy wire. I don't know how to explain it. It's a great figure, great price value, but it just feels like a hybrid of several classic Showa Godzilla designs. It does also come with an atomic breath piece that's slightly different than the one given to Goji 62. Thinner and shorter, a nice addition, but it really could use a repaint. It's just not movie accurate, just missing that hint of blue. I really wish NECA had done more Showa Godzillas, like the 72 or 74 would have been amazing. Side note, of all the figures, I cannot believe NECA didn't actually do a variant of the 64 suit, like a dirt-covered emerging Godzilla from the moment we first see him on screen.